Hi there, I'm Dylan Tanner, and this is the 9th episode of Movement for Mind and Meaning. If you've ever found yourself thinking, why aren't I fixed yet? Or, I thought I already dealt with this, why is it still coming up? Or maybe even, what's wrong with me that I can't just get over this? Then this episode is for you. Today, we're going to talk about the idea that healing, growth and progress should leave us permanently fixed. And we're going to talk about what to aim for instead. What actually helps you in the dark days. Let's dive in. We live in a culture that loves endpoints and finish lines. We love the idea that there's a finish line. 6-week challenge, 12-week program, the before and after shot, the final therapy breakthrough, the I'm not that person anymore moment. And don't get me wrong, those things can be powerful. But what we're sold is the idea that once you hit that milestone, you're done. You're healed. You're fixed. But here's the honest truth. You don't get fixed, not in the way we think anyway, because you were never actually broken in the first place. This idea is so attractive to us. But why? Why do we even want or feel like we need to be fixed? I think there are 3 big reasons. Number 1, we crave certainty. When life feels all over the place or overwhelming, emotionally, physically, mentally, the fantasy of one permanent solution seems like it'll solve all our problems. But in reality, it's false and toxic to real healing and recovery. We say things to ourselves like, if I just find the right diet, the right coach, the right morning routine, then I'll be all good. It's comforting to believe that peace can be unlocked like a cheat code. If I can just find the missing puzzle piece, everything will click, but it's just not realistic. Number 2, the transformation narrative. We love the redemption story of rock bottom to success, the dramatic change, the person who used to be a mess and now has it all together. It gives us hope, but it also sets up a really rigid, unrealistic pathway. And the truth is, life doesn't work in straight lines. Life, and healing for sure, is always up and down and takes continuous work. Number 3, shame. We don't talk about this enough, but the idea of being fixed is often just a quiet way of saying, I want to erase the parts of myself I feel ashamed of. The weight, the anxiety, the temper, the diagnosis, the patterns. But shame doesn't go away just because we hit a goal. It becomes less of an issue when we learn to have compassion for ourselves. And here's the kicker. This myth of being fixed sounds empowering, but it actually does the opposite. We set up an all or nothing mindset trap for ourselves. If the goal is to be fixed, then when we think we're fixed, or we think we'll be fixed, then any struggle, any slip up, any relapse will feel like failure. You miss a workout, you're done it again. Your anxiety spikes up, proof that you're not healed. One binge, one argument, one bad day, and suddenly all the progress feels like nothing. That's the trap. But life is dynamic. Our nervous systems, our bodies, our moods, our relationships, they're not static. They all change up and down with sleep, with stress, with hormones. It's just life and change is constant. And when we change perfection, we're fighting reality. Here's the real danger though. If you keep chasing fixed and it keeps not showing up, you start believing you can never heal, you can never get better. And that is way harder to overcome than any starting point you were trying to move away from. Now let's talk movement, because this myth shows up here too. The whole summer body narrative is a perfect example. Train hard for 12 weeks, look good on the beach, and then what? The high wears off, life happens, schedules change, and suddenly you're going backwards again. Movement is a mirror. Some days it'll reflect your strength, some days it reflects your stress, or fear, or resistance. The run isn't always about how fast you can go. The lift isn't always about going as heavy as you can go. The walk isn't always about steps. Sometimes the most honest way back to yourself is through movement. So, if not fixed, then what? What's the alternative? Let's break this down into 4 parts. 1. Adaptability over perfection. Build a toolkit that works for you, like we talked about in episode 5. On good days, that might be a hard hill run. On rough days, it might be a stretch on the living room floor. They both count, they're both valid, both a movement. 2. Prioritizing your mental health and making recovery strategies a part of your daily life. Healing isn't a side quest. It's not something you do after work or on retreat only. It needs to be part of your daily life. The way you speak to yourself, the way you set boundaries, the way you deal with and recover from stress. 3. Progress over perfection. Ask, am I catching myself sooner? Am I bouncing back quicker? Am I being less harsh on myself in the process? That's growth. That's healing, even if you're still in the middle of it. And 4. Self-compassion over control. This one is everything. Shame wants you to control your way into forced false healing through arbitrary goals. Compassion aligns you back to yourself and who you really are underneath it all. Let me say this clearly. Healing is not a final state. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about learning how to be yourself again, who you were before the mental health struggles or who you were meant to be. You will have ups and downs. Everyone does. And guess what? That's totally normal. We don't want to avoid them. We want to work with them so we can practice and get better and better at handling them. So maybe it's time to let go of the question, when will I finally be fixed or all better? And replace it with, what helps me feel better today? Because that question is present in the now. You're adapting. You don't need to be fixed. You need practices. You need honesty and self-kindness and things that help you move, physically and emotionally. This is the work, and the juice is worth the squeeze. Trust me on that. For me, that realization came very slowly. It took a long time for me to change my thinking and realize what's really going to work for me. I used to think healing meant getting rid of all the bad parts, the anxiety, the doubts, the mistakes, the guilt and shame. If I could just fix them, I thought, then I'd finally arrive at some final version of myself and be perfect. But every time I solved one thing or achieved a big goal I'd always wanted, something else came up in its place, like chasing something you could never quite reach. The turning point was understanding that life isn't about reaching a final state or chasing continuous goals that you believe will finally make you worthy. It's about building the capacity to work with and understand yourself in all your shifting states. When you can do that, healing becomes more about listening, adjusting, and moving with what's going on with you today, in the present. That's when the pressure lifted. Instead of waiting for a perfect version of myself to appear, I started practicing being present with myself in the moment, day by day. And that, ironically, felt a lot more like healing than chasing fixed ever did. I was forced to learn this when at one time in my life I thought I'd cracked it. I was waking up early, moving every day, eating well, journaling, even meditating. Everything felt right, and I remember thinking no matter what happens now, I'll just handle it, because I'm finally better. And then, out of nowhere, I dipped really hard. One small trigger, something I would have brushed off a week earlier, knocked me on my ass. I skipped training, isolated myself, slipped back into old thought patterns. I thought you were past this. What happened to all that progress? I thought. But that taught me something I hadn't understood before. Better isn't the destination, it's a direction. Progress isn't linear. Healing is up and down, forwards and backwards, and relapse, in whatever shape it comes in, doesn't cancel out the healing that came before it. That experience showed me that healing isn't about avoidance or hoping nothing ever goes wrong. It's about building the coping mechanisms to handle it when they happen in a better, healthier way than they used to. I used to think a good day meant I'd done everything right. I'd woken up early, worked out, ticked off the to-do list, stayed positive. But honestly, that just turned every single day into an exam I could either pass or fail. Now I see it differently. A good day isn't about achievement or productivity. Now it's more like, did I move in a way that felt good? Did I give space for whatever showed up with me? Joy, sadness, frustration, without making it becoming too much. A good day is knowing I stayed present, showed up for myself with compassion, and did the best I could for myself when I'm on that day. And you know, one of the hardest parts about growth is that so much of it is invisible. We're conditioned to look for proof, numbers going up, boxes ticked off, big visible breakthroughs. But healing, movement, change, most of it happens without showing up too much until one day you can notice changes in how you handle things, how you feel about things. Things that used to trigger you into stress or self-loathing don't have that effect anymore. Sometimes naming a small win out loud can be the difference. I got out of bed today when I didn't want to. That counts. I paused before reacting. A huge win for me personally with BPD. Other times, it's remembering my before. Looking back at how I would have handled this situation a few years ago and realising I showed up differently today, even if no one else could see it. And honestly, one of the biggest reminders is in this way I speak to myself. On days when I can choose compassion over criticism, that's movement and progress, even if nothing on the outside changes. So if you feel like nothing is happening, maybe check in with yourself. Think about how you used to deal with things and how you're dealing with them now, and you'll notice the differences. I've gone through major breakthroughs and not even realised until my therapist pointed it out. We often hear people say things like, I need to wait until I'm better to start. But if you're waiting to be fully healed before you let yourself live again, you might be waiting forever. Healing is a relationship with yourself that takes consistent practice. Being ready is a story your brain tells you to keep you safe. But the getting going is what will get you on the path to your very own healing journey. Thanks for being here with me for this one. If this hits something real for you, if you're carrying that weight of, I should be fixed by now, take a deep breath. You're not behind, you're just moving forward in the process. And that's a good place to be. Until next time, Keep moving with meaning, and I'll catch you in the next episode. I'm Dylan Tanner, and this is Movement for Mind and Meaning, a place for people just like you who want to keep trying for something more.